Welcome to Heart and Hearth, a story of second chances and the power of community. When Ethan Carter loses everything, he and his young daughter Gracie find hope in an unexpected place. A small neighborhood restaurant run by the generous yet struggling Ben and his daughter Emma. Determined to repay Ben's kindness, Ethan uses his old marketing skills to try and save the restaurant, and in the process finds new purpose, love, and family. But with every step forward, they face fresh obstacles, testing their strength and the bonds they've built. Will Heart and Hearth survive and thrive against the odds? And what unexpected paths will it open for those who believe in it? If you're ready to join a journey of resilience, hope, and unforgettable moments, hit subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think might happen next. Let's dive into the story. Ethan Carter slumped on an old, weathered bench just a block from his daughter Gracie's school, shielding himself from the main gate where parents gathered each day. He knew that if he stood with them, those parents in their neat clothes talking about weekend plans, he would be out of place, the weight of their gazes almost unbearable. Ethan glanced down at his hands that once held the weight of business portfolios and marketing pitches. Now they were calloused from weeks of odd jobs, mending fences, stacking boxes, anything to earn a few dollars. His stomach rumbled, a reminder of the half sandwich he'd rationed for lunch. The school bell finally rang, and he looked up with relief. From the mass of running children, a familiar, lively voice shouted, "Dad!" A blur of dark curls and a bright pink backpack dashed toward him. Gracie's face was radiant, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She threw herself into his arms, wrapping him in a fierce hug. "Guess what, Dad? Ms. Taylor said I was one of the best in math today." Gracie's eyes sparkled as she spoke, her little face lighting up in a way that always pulled Ethan back from his darkest thoughts. "That's incredible, sweetheart." He lifted her slightly off the ground, forcing himself to smile through the pang in his chest. Gracie had no idea how much he fought every day to keep their lives stable, to ensure her world remained as bright as her smiles. Gracie babbled on about her day as they walked toward the nearby downtown area. She spoke about friends, her teacher, and the playground with such enthusiasm that Ethan felt a pang of both joy and sadness. He listened closely, nodding in all the right places, though his mind was clouded with worry. "Dad, are we going to have lunch soon?" "I'm starving," she chirped, breaking his train of thought. Ethan gave her a warm smile, hoping to mask the unease that gnawed at him. "Of course, sweetheart. How about we go see if Ben has any of his famous soup today?" Gracie's eyes lit up, and she nodded eagerly. Ben Lawson, the owner of the modest restaurant Heart and Hearth, had become an unexpected lifeline for them. The kindness Ben showed them with warm meals and friendly smiles was a rarity Ethan hadn't expected, but had come to rely on. Heart and Hearth was a small but charming restaurant nestled on a busy street corner. Its walls, though old, were lined with framed photos of neighborhood events and paintings by local artists. The aromas wafting from the kitchen mingled with the sounds of quiet conversation and clinking dishes, creating a sense of warmth that made the place feel like home. When Ethan and Gracie reached the back alley of Heart and Hearth, they saw a group of regulars, locals who were also struggling, waiting patiently outside the kitchen door. Ben's restaurant was a haven for many, offering discounted or free meals to those in need. Though he rarely smiled, Ben's quiet generosity spoke volumes. As they approached, Ben stepped out of the kitchen, wiping his hands on a worn apron. He greeted the small group with a nod, his gruff expression softening slightly when he saw Gracie's eager face. "Hello, Ethan." "Gracie," he said, handing them a warm bowl of soup and a small loaf of bread. "This one's a new recipe. Thought I'd try something a little different today." "Thank you so much, Ben," Ethan replied, his voice thick with gratitude. "You don't know how much this means to us." Ben shrugged, waving off the thanks. "It's nothing, Carter. Just doing my part. You take care of that little girl, all right?" Ethan nodded, feeling a lump form in his throat. He and Gracie sat down on an overturned crate in the alley, sharing the simple but delicious meal. For Gracie, it was just another lunch with her dad. But for Ethan, it was a lifeline, a reminder that kindness still existed in a world that often felt harsh and unforgiving. As the other patrons dispersed, Ben approached Ethan, taking a seat beside him on an old milk crate. He looked more weary than usual, his usual steady gaze clouded with concern. "Ethan, I need to talk to you about something," Ben began, his voice low. "Things here, they're not looking good. Business has slowed down a lot, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep the doors open." Ethan felt a pang of dread. Heart and Hearth was more than just a restaurant to him and Gracie. It was their only source of warmth, nourishment, and companionship. The thought of losing it was unbearable. "Ben, isn't there anything we can do?" Ethan asked, desperation coloring his tone. "Maybe there's anything that could help?" Ben sighed, shaking his head. "I've tried everything I could think of. Discounts, special promotions, you name it. People just aren't spending money on eating out these days. And with all the debts piling up, I'm afraid I might have to sell the place." Ethan sat in silence, absorbing the weight of Ben's words. He remembered his own career in marketing, a life that felt like a lifetime ago. Perhaps there was still something he could offer, some way to repay Ben's kindness and keep the restaurant afloat. "What if I helped out?" Ethan suggested. "I used to work in marketing before everything happened. Maybe I could come up with some ideas to bring people in." Ben considered Ethan's offer, his gaze thoughtful. After a pause, he nodded slowly. "All right, Carter. You've got 1 week. If you can help me turn things around, I'll reconsider selling." Ethan's heart lifted with hope. "Thank you, Ben. We'll make this work, I promise." That evening, after the restaurant had closed, Ethan and Gracie gathered their few belongings and quietly moved into the storage room at Heart and Hearth. The room was small, cluttered with boxes and supplies, but to Ethan, it felt like a palace. It offered safety, warmth, and a roof over their heads, luxuries they hadn't enjoyed in months. Gracie clutched her worn teddy bear as she looked around the small space. "Dad, are we really staying here?" "Yes, sweetheart," Ethan replied, kneeling beside her. "It's just for a little while. We'll work with Mr. Ben to make sure everything is all right. And I'll make sure you're safe and warm, I promise." Gracie smiled, her eyes filled with trust. She wrapped her arms around his neck, and Ethan held her close, his heart swelling with both love and determination. He would do whatever it took to give her a life of stability, even if it meant starting from scratch. The next morning, Ethan and Gracie met Emma Lawson, Ben's daughter, who managed the day-to-day operations at Heart and Hearth. She was in her late 20s, with an easy smile and a quiet strength that was immediately apparent. Emma raised an eyebrow when she saw Ethan and Gracie setting up in the storage room. "Dad's letting you two stay here?" she asked, her tone a mix of curiosity and caution. Ethan nodded, meeting her gaze. "It's just temporary. I'm hoping to help Ben boost business so he doesn't have to close the place." Emma studied him, a trace of skepticism in her eyes. "And what makes you think you can turn things around?" Ethan hesitated, his mind flashing back to his past life, the days when he'd felt confident, successful, in control. "I used to work in marketing. I know it's a long shot, but I think I can help." After a moment, Emma's expression softened. "Well, if you're serious about this, then I'll do my part too. I've wanted to see this place succeed as much as my dad does." Their unspoken partnership began that day, and as the week went on, they discovered an unexpected bond. Ethan admired Emma's dedication, her passion for the restaurant, and her kindness toward her father. And as Emma got to know Ethan, she saw his fierce love for Gracie and his relentless drive to give her a better life. Determined to make a difference, Ethan proposed their first event, Mystery Dish Night. The idea was simple but unique. Customers could order a dish without knowing what it was, then guess the ingredients. If they guessed correctly, they'd get a free dessert. Ben and Emma agreed, intrigued by the potential of this small but creative gamble. On the night of the event, Heart and Hearth filled with curious locals eager to test their taste buds. Emma played her guitar softly in the corner, creating a cozy ambiance that made the experience all the more inviting. Gracie took on the role of official guest collector, moving from table to table with a clipboard as customers scribbled down their best guesses. Her laughter and bright smile lit up the room, and Ethan felt a surge of pride watching his daughter shine in the crowd. As the night wound down, Heart and Hearth was buzzing with energy, the atmosphere alive with warmth and camaraderie. Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. For the first time since his life had unraveled, he saw a path forward. The success of Mystery Dish Night sparked a new sense of purpose for everyone involved. Locals who visited regularly started to form friendships, staying late to talk and share stories over warm bowls of soup and homemade bread. Emma's music became a regular feature, her songs adding a personal touch that made Heart and Hearth feel like more than just a restaurant. It was a community. Ethan and Emma grew closer during these late nights, often talking long after closing about their dreams, fears, and the lives they had lost along the way. They found comfort in each other's company, a mutual understanding that bridged the differences in their pasts. And as for Gracie, she flourished in the restaurant's warmth, her laughter echoing through the kitchen as she helped clear tables and refill water pitchers. She had found a sense of stability that Ethan had feared she might never have again. By the end of the week, Heart and Hearth had become a beacon of light in the neighborhood. Ben watched as regulars filled the tables, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. For the first time in months, he dared to believe that the restaurant might have a future. Ethan, though exhausted, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had come here with nothing, but he'd found hope, friendship, and the beginnings of a life he thought he'd lost forever. He looked around the bustling restaurant, at the smiling faces and the warmth that filled every corner, and he knew that they were on the right path. In the days following the success of Mystery Dish Night, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that Heart and Hearth needed something more, a bigger, lasting impression on the community. As he watched the steady trickle of customers over breakfast, an idea began to form. After Ben's morning coffee, Ethan asked for a private moment to discuss his thoughts. "Ben, I've been thinking, Heart and Hearth is more than a restaurant. It's a place people come to feel at home. What if we expanded on that?" Ben gave him a curious look. "I'm listening, Carter. What's on your mind?" Ethan leaned forward, explaining his concept for weekly community nights, where the restaurant would host themed events, family nights, trivia challenges, and even cooking demonstrations by local chefs. Each night would invite regulars and newcomers alike to participate, creating an experience that was more than just a meal. Ben's eyes lit up, though he tempered his enthusiasm with a wary expression. "It's a big idea, Ethan, but are you sure we have the time, the resources?" "We're already stretched thin." Ethan nodded, his expression serious. "I know, but I think this could bring in the regular crowd we need. People are craving connection, and this might be the answer." Ben sat quietly, considering the proposal. Finally, he nodded. "All right, let's give it a shot. But you're leading the charge on this, Carter. You've got my support for as long as it works." Ethan's heart surged with determination. He promised himself he would make it work, not only for Heart and Hearth, but for everyone who depended on its doors staying open. Emma had grown accustomed to watching Ethan's interactions with customers. She admired his ability to make people feel welcome and seen. His easygoing nature and warmth helped build the camaraderie that Heart and Hearth needed. But that didn't mean she wasn't skeptical of his big ideas. After they closed for the night, she pulled Ethan aside. "You know, you're putting a lot on the line with these events," she said, crossing her arms. "What makes you so sure it'll work?" Ethan chuckled, shrugging. "Honestly, I'm not, but I believe in this place, and I think we can make it a community hub, somewhere people feel a part of." Her gaze softened. "My dad, he's poured everything into this place. If you're serious about helping him keep it, I'm all in." A few days later, as they worked in the kitchen late one evening, Ethan noticed an acoustic guitar resting in the corner. Curiously, he asked, "Is that yours?" Emma nodded, a shy smile appearing. "I used to play for my mom before she passed. Music, it helps me feel connected to her." Ethan encouraged her to play for him, and after some convincing, she did. Her gentle voice and soulful lyrics filled the room, creating an atmosphere of warmth and reflection. By the end of the song, Ethan was moved, understanding that Emma's music could be part of the magic that Heart and Hearth offered its guests. The first community night was themed Family Game Night, with tables set up for board games, card games, and a trivia station in the corner. Ethan had spent the day preparing, from setting up signs and decorations to crafting a special menu just for the evening. When he arrived at Heart and Hearth with Gracie that evening, He was hopeful, but nervous. Ben and Emma shared his anticipation, though Emma playfully teased him. "Big night, Carter. Don't let us down." As the evening wore on, Heart and Hearth filled with families, couples, and individuals, drawn by the promise of an interactive, light-hearted experience. Kids laughed, parents relaxed, and strangers shared friendly competition. Ethan watched Gracie run from table to table, chatting with other kids and joining in on the trivia questions. Her laughter was infectious, and he felt a swell of pride watching her bloom in this environment. The atmosphere felt like a dream come true. The night ended with a full house and dozens of new faces who promised to return. As they cleaned up, Ben clapped Ethan on the back, smiling. "Looks like you've done it, Carter. Let's keep it going." With the success of family game night, Ethan and Emma continued to work closely together, each night adding a new layer to their partnership. Emma's guard began to soften, and her admiration for Ethan's commitment grew. One night, after another successful event, they lingered outside, watching the city lights twinkle against the night sky. Emma spoke softly about her mother, the woman who had taught her to cook and instilled in her the value of kindness. "Heart and Hearth is all I have left of her," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I want to see it thrive. For her." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll make it happen. Together." Their eyes met, and in that quiet moment, an unspoken bond was formed, deepening their connection in ways neither had expected. For Ethan, the warmth of her presence felt like a light in his darkened world. And for Emma, Ethan's friendship became a source of strength she hadn't realized she needed. As Ethan's ideas continued to take shape, he proposed a Guess the Flavor drink challenge for the following weekend. Customers could sample a unique drink from the menu and guess its ingredients. Those who guessed correctly would win another drink for free. Emma, ever the culinary experimenter, was excited to craft unusual, refreshing drinks for the event. She experimented with ingredients like basil, lemon, cucumber, and mint, hoping the flavors would stump even the most discerning palates. On the night of the event, Heart and Hearth saw a mix of curious locals and returning customers. The playful challenge brought out laughter and camaraderie as people debated each sip, trying to figure out the secret ingredients. Emma watched from behind the counter, smiling at the spirited scene. She caught Ethan's eye and mouthed, "It's working!" He flashed a thumbs up, feeling the thrill of success yet again. By the end of the night, they had tripled their usual Saturday crowd. It was another triumph, but as they counted the cash register's contents, they knew that despite the success, Heart and Hearth's road to security was still long. Word of Heart and Hearth's community nights spread throughout the neighborhood, drawing new faces and bolstering a sense of unity. Locals began to view the restaurant as a social hub, somewhere to unwind and connect. One evening, a young couple named James and Lila arrived for date night, intrigued by the restaurant's charm. As they shared their dessert, Lila confided to Ethan that they had recently moved to the neighborhood and felt instantly at home here. "It's not just a restaurant," she said warmly. "It's like a second home. You've done something really special here." Her words stuck with Ethan, a reminder of the difference they were making not only in the lives of regulars, but also in the community at large. With each successful event, Heart and Hearth's footing felt a little more secure. But Ethan knew that challenges were never far off. One Friday evening they faced an unexpected obstacle, a plumbing issue that forced them to close for the night. Ben's frustration was evident. "We can't afford this, Carter. Losing a night's revenue hurts." Ethan did his best to reassure him. "It's a setback, but we've come back from worse. Let's take this as a chance to regroup. We're still on track." Though Ethan's words were hopeful, he felt the pressure mounting. Their successes were uplifting, but each challenge reminded him that stability was still a distant goal. Despite her initial reservations, Emma began to explore the idea of performing during events, encouraged by Ethan and Gracie's support. One evening, after they'd closed and were unwinding, Ethan playfully handed her the guitar, urging her to perform. Emma hesitated, but the quiet encouragement from Ethan and Gracie won her over. As she began to play, her voice filled the small space, carrying her quiet strength and vulnerability. The song was simple but heartfelt, and Ethan was captivated. "You have a gift, Emma," he said softly as she finished. You should share it. I think your music is what this place needs." Emma gave him a shy smile, feeling a warmth that hadn't graced her in a long time. For the first time, she began to imagine herself not only working at Heart and Hearth, but also contributing to its soul. With a newfound confidence, Emma agreed to perform at the upcoming community night, and Ethan decided to center the evening around a theme of gratitude and togetherness. Word spread quickly, and by the time the event arrived, Heart and Hearth was brimming with anticipation. Emma took to the makeshift stage, guitar in hand, her heart pounding. But as she began to sing, her nervousness melted away, replaced by the support of familiar faces and the presence of Ethan nearby. Her music cast a spell over the room, drawing smiles, tears, and applause. When she finished, the crowd erupted into cheers, and Ethan joined her on stage, his face lit with pride. "Let's hear it for Emma," he called out, sparking another round of applause. The event was a resounding success, solidifying Heart and Hearth's place as a neighborhood haven. The community's support was palpable, and for the first time both Ethan and Ben felt that they might truly have a shot at saving the restaurant. After the event, Ethan and Emma lingered in the quiet of the restaurant, basking in the warmth of the evening's success. They talked about the future, their hopes, and the dreams that had once seemed impossible. Emma admitted, "I used to think I'd leave this place one day, follow my music. But now, I think I've found something here worth staying for." Ethan met her gaze, a newfound depth in his eyes. "I feel the same way. This place, it's become home for me and Gracie." In that moment, the future felt wide open, full of promise and possibilities they hadn't dared to dream of. Heart and Hearth had given them not only a purpose but a chance to rebuild their lives together, one step at a time. The steady growth of Heart and Hearth's popularity brought Ethan, Ben, and Emma a sense of confidence they hadn't felt in a long time. Business was finally looking stable, and their regular community events were drawing in more locals than ever. But as often happens, good news was shadowed by challenges they hadn't anticipated. One morning, Ben received a letter from his landlord. The message was direct. With rising costs, the building's rent would be increasing by 25% starting the next month. Ben felt a pang of dread as he read the numbers, quickly calculating the strain it would put on their already tight budget. He showed the letter to Ethan in the quiet kitchen, his voice laced with frustration. "It's a steep increase, Carter. I don't know if we can keep up." Ethan's face fell, but he nodded resolutely. "We'll find a way, Ben. We've gotten this far, and we won't let it all fall apart because of one setback." Despite Ethan's words, a knot formed in his stomach. The increase was substantial, and even with their recent success, he knew it would stretch their resources to the limit. The news of the rent hike reached Emma, and her initial excitement about the restaurant's success quickly faded into worry. One evening, after the restaurant closed, she sat in the empty dining room, her thoughts spiraling. She had poured everything into Heart and Hearth, not only for her father but also for the legacy of her mother's dream. The thought of losing it felt unbearable. Ethan found her there, her usual confident demeanor replaced by uncertainty. "You all right, Emma?" She glanced up, offering a faint smile. "Just feeling the weight of it all, I guess. I want to see this place succeed, Ethan. But sometimes I wonder if it's all slipping away." Ethan took a seat across from her, his gaze gentle. "You've done incredible things here, Emma. This restaurant wouldn't be the same without you, and we're going to keep fighting for it. You have my word." His words gave her a renewed sense of strength, a reminder that she wasn't in this alone. With a nod, she looked at him, determination in her eyes. "Then let's keep going, no matter what." As they battled Heart and Hearth's financial struggles, Ethan faced a more personal challenge. One morning, a city official visited the restaurant, politely inquiring about the arrangement Ethan and Gracie had with their living quarters in the storage room. The official mentioned local occupancy codes and the need for all residents to have an approved living space. The implications hit Ethan hard. Without the restaurant, he and Gracie would have nowhere to go, and the thought of being separated from her was unbearable. He spent the night pacing, wrestling with his options and worrying about Gracie's future. That evening, Gracie noticed her father's distress. "Dad, is everything okay?" she asked, her voice small. Ethan knelt beside her, forcing a smile. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. I promise." No matter what, I'll always be here with you." As she drifted off to sleep, Ethan vowed to himself that he would find a way to keep their little family intact, no matter how impossible it seemed. With the rent increase looming, Ben found himself considering a decision he'd never wanted to make. He called Ethan into his office one evening, a somber expression on his face. "Carter," he began slowly, "I've been thinking, it might be time to let go. I can't keep risking everything, not if we're barely scraping by as it is." The words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He'd poured his heart into Heart and Hearth, not only to repay Ben's kindness, but because it had become a beacon of hope for him and Gracie. He couldn't bear the thought of losing it. "Ben, give me one more week," he pleaded, desperation clear in his voice. "One more chance to turn things around. If it doesn't work, then we'll talk about other options." Ben sighed, his gaze heavy. But seeing the conviction in Ethan's eyes, he finally nodded. "1 week, Carter. But after that, we'll have to face reality." Ethan left the office with a renewed sense of urgency. He knew this was his last chance, and he was prepared to do whatever it took to save Heart and Hearth. Determined to make their last community night an unforgettable event, Ethan and Emma brainstormed ideas. They settled on an open house night, inviting all locals for a celebration of music, food, and gratitude. Emma agreed reluctantly to perform for the first time in front of a live audience. On the night of the event, Heart and Hearth was filled with familiar faces and newcomers alike. Emma's nerves threatened to overwhelm her, but as she stepped onto the small stage, she saw Ethan and Gracie smiling up at her, their encouragement steadying her. Her voice, though hesitant at first, soon filled the room, each note carrying warmth and sincerity. The crowd was mesmerized, and by the end of her set, they broke into applause, cheering and calling for an encore. For Emma, it was a transformative experience, and she left the stage with a newfound confidence, her fears replaced by a deep sense of fulfillment. The open house event was a triumph, but the looming rent increase still cast a shadow over Heart and Hearth's future. However, unbeknownst to Ben, Ethan, or Emma, the community had been deeply moved by their efforts to save the restaurant. Seeing the dedication of the Heart and Hearth team, the locals began organizing a Save Heart and Hearth Day to rally support and raise funds. On the day of the event, Heart and Hearth was packed to the brim. The energy was infectious as neighbors, regulars, and newcomers gathered, buying food, leaving generous tips, and purchasing prepaid loyalty cards for future meals. Emma and Ethan served up dishes with smiles, exchanging gratitude-filled glances with each other. Gracie helped out by handing out thank you cards she'd made herself, each one decorated with colorful drawings and heartfelt messages. Her joyful spirit touched everyone who received a card, reminding them of the true meaning of community. At the end of the night, as they counted the funds, Ben's eyes filled with emotion. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured, struggling to keep his composure. "We're going to make it, Carter. We're actually going to make it." The night's success left a sense of celebration and relief in its wake. After cleaning up, Ethan and Emma found themselves alone, enjoying a moment of quiet outside the restaurant. The stars above them felt like a symbol of the hope that had kept them going. Emma turned to Ethan, her eyes soft. "I don't know what I would have done without you, Ethan. You've given us all a reason to believe in this place again." Ethan took her hand, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spread through him. "Emma, I'm just grateful to be here. You've shown me what real resilience looks like. And for that, I'm the one who's thankful." In that moment, they felt a closeness they hadn't acknowledged before, an unspoken connection that went beyond friendship. As their hands remained intertwined, a silent promise lingered in the air, a hope that perhaps, in the midst of their struggles, they had found something more. Buoyed by the community's support, Ethan, Emma, and Ben embraced their future with renewed purpose. They brainstormed ideas to keep Heart and Hearth thriving, from hosting cooking workshops to creating special loyalty programs for regular customers. The restaurant had become a symbol of resilience, and they were determined to keep that legacy alive. Ethan worked tirelessly, infusing each event with creativity and energy. He knew that Heart and Hearth had not only given him a sense of purpose, but had also given Gracie a place to call home. And for that, he would go above and beyond to protect it. One night, As Ethan tucked Gracie into bed, she looked up at him with her big, hopeful eyes. "Dad, are we going to stay here forever?" Ethan smiled, brushing a stray curl from her forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. This is our home now. You, me, and all the wonderful people here. I promise." As Gracie drifted off to sleep, Ethan sat beside her, feeling the weight of his promise. He had fought so hard to keep her safe and give her a sense of stability, and he vowed to never take it for granted. The following weeks saw Heart and Hearth transform from a struggling establishment to a thriving community space. Regulars became friends, children played at family nights, and locals brought in their own families to experience the warmth that Heart and Hearth offered. Ethan, Emma, and Ben worked seamlessly together, each bringing their unique strengths to create something truly special. For the first time in a long time, they allowed themselves to dream, envisioning a future where Heart and Hearth continued to grow and inspire those around them. Ethan and Emma shared one final quiet moment as the last customers left Heart and Hearth. They walked together through the empty restaurant, their steps echoing in the space that had become so much more than a workplace. "Thank you, Ethan," Emma said softly, her hand brushing his. "For everything." He looked at her, feeling a warmth he hadn't known in years. "We did this together, Emma, and I wouldn't have it any other way." They shared a gentle smile, a silent understanding that Heart and Hearth was just the beginning of something much bigger, a place where resilience, love, and community would always find a home. With Heart and Hearth now flourishing, Ethan, Ben, and Emma meet one evening after closing to reflect on the journey they've shared. The once quiet restaurant is now a lively, welcoming space, packed every night with locals who feel like family. The walls, once bare, are now adorned with photos of community events, hand-drawn thank you notes from kids, and portraits of loyal customers, each representing the lives Heart and Hearth has touched. Ben looks around, his eyes misty with gratitude. "I never thought we'd make it this far," he says quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "This place has become more than a restaurant. It's a home, for all of us." Ethan nods, feeling a surge of pride. "It wouldn't have been possible without you, Ben. You gave me and Gracie a chance when we needed it the most." Emma places a hand on her father's shoulder, her gaze tender. "Heart and Hearth has always been your dream, Dad. Now it's a dream we all share." With the restaurant thriving, they start discussing future ideas. Ethan proposes expanding Heart and Hearth's impact by hosting charity nights or cooking workshops for underprivileged families. Inspired, Ben and Emma eagerly agree. The vision of Heart and Hearth, as a place where anyone can find comfort and support, fills them with renewed purpose. As the days pass, Ethan and Emma grow closer, their connection blossoming into something undeniable. Their late-night conversations evolve from light-hearted chats to heartfelt discussions about their pasts, their dreams, and their hopes for the future. It's in these quiet moments that they begin to realize the depth of their feelings. One evening, after another successful community night, Emma invites Ethan for a walk through the now familiar neighborhood. Under the glow of streetlights, she hesitates, then takes his hand, her voice soft. "Ethan, I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want you and Gracie in mine." Ethan's heart skips a beat. He turns to her, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "Emma, being here with you, it's more than I ever thought I'd have again, and I'd be honored to be part of your life." They share a quiet embrace, a shared understanding that what they've built together is no longer just a partnership, but a foundation for a life filled with love, resilience, and hope. With their bond deepening, Ethan begins to envision a future not only at Heart and Hearth, but as a family with Emma and Gracie. On a peaceful evening, as the last customers leave, he gathers his courage and leads Emma to the quiet, candle-lit warmth of the restaurant's dining area. He holds her hands, looking into her eyes. "Emma, you've shown me that there's always hope, even in the hardest times. You've become more than a friend, more than a partner. I want to build a life with you right here, where it all began." Emma's eyes fill with tears and she nods, her smile radiant. "Yes, Ethan, 1,000 times yes." Their quiet celebration is interrupted by Gracie, who, spotting her father's embrace with Emma, grins widely. "Does this mean I get to call you Mom?" she asks, her eyes brimming with excitement. Emma kneels, opening her arms to Gracie. "If that's all right with you, I'd love that more than anything." They embrace as a family, the promise of new beginnings shining bright. Ben joins them, overwhelmed with emotion, grateful that Heart and Hearth has not only brought his daughter happiness, but has become a haven for a new family he cherishes. With the love and unity solidified, Ethan, Emma, and Ben work together to expand Heart and Hearth's reach. They host special charity nights, cooking workshops for families, and even offer free meals for those in need, strengthening the restaurant's role as a beacon of hope and support. Locals rally behind them, offering volunteer hours, donating supplies, and spreading the word. Heart and Hearth's reputation as a community cornerstone spreads beyond their neighborhood, attracting attention from local media and social organizations. Their story of resilience and unity becomes a source of inspiration, and customers come from across the city to experience the warmth and kindness that Heart and Hearth embodies. Gracie, now confident and happy, often helps out after school, delivering desserts to tables and chatting with customers. The regulars adore her, and she has become a symbol of the restaurant's heart and spirit. As Heart and Hearth's influence grows, so does Ethan and Emma's vision. They begin laying plans to open a second Heart and Hearth in a nearby neighborhood that lacks community spaces. Ben, though reluctant to change, comes around when he sees the impact Heart and Hearth has on the people it serves. At the new location's grand opening, friends, family, and loyal customers fill the space, celebrating the restaurant's success and its lasting impact. Ethan looks around, overwhelmed by the journey from struggle to triumph, and is deeply grateful for the family and community he's found along the way. Ben, ever the quiet observer, watches Ethan and Emma lead the event, pride radiating from him. "You did it, Carter," he says, clapping a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You took a chance, and you made this place more than I ever dreamed it could be." Ethan smiles, his heart full. "We all did, Ben, and there's so much more we can do." In the months following their engagement, Ethan and Emma plan a small, intimate wedding in Heart and Hearth's original location. Surrounded by friends, family, and the community that has become their extended family, they exchange vows, solidifying their commitment to each other and the life they've built. Gracie is thrilled to officially have a family, and she takes her role as flower girl with utmost seriousness, scattering petals down the restaurant's aisle with a beaming smile. The celebration is filled with laughter, love, and heartfelt toasts, each one a testament to the bonds that Heart and Hearth has created. The wedding solidifies the unity of their family, and as they share their first dance amid cheers and applause, Ethan and Emma feel a profound sense of peace. They've overcome incredible odds, and now they're ready to embrace a future filled with love and shared dreams. A year later, Ethan and Emma welcome a new baby, adding another layer of joy to their lives. Gracie takes on her role as a big sister with pride, and the family finds themselves busier and happier than ever. The addition to their family strengthens their bond, and the Heart and Hearth community celebrates alongside them, dropping off gifts, meals, and congratulations. The restaurant, now bustling more than ever, continues to be a sanctuary for anyone seeking comfort, kindness, and a place to belong. Ethan reflects on the journey that led him here, filled with gratitude for the second chance life has given him and his family. He vows to continue paying forward the kindness that Heart and Hearth has shown him, ensuring the restaurant remains a haven for all. 1 year later, Heart and Hearth's impact has spread beyond the city, with new locations being planned and their story inspiring communities nationwide. The restaurant has become more than a business. It's a legacy built on resilience, compassion, and unity. Ethan, Emma, and Ben now lead a team dedicated to bringing Heart and Hearth spirit to other neighborhoods, each location becoming a beacon of hope for its community. Gracie, now a lively and self-assured young girl, is a regular face at the original restaurant, her laughter and warmth endearing her to everyone. In the quiet moments, Ethan reflects on how far they've come. The memories of struggle and despair are now overshadowed by the love and hope that Heart and Hearth has given them. He knows that their story is a testament to the power of unity and resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found. As he looks at Emma, Gracie, and their growing family, Ethan feels a profound peace. Heart and Hearth is not only a testament to the strength of a community, but a legacy that will inspire generations to come. A place where love, compassion, and dreams can flourish, and where anyone can find a second chance. Heart and Hearth had become more than anyone had imagined. Its warm, inviting atmosphere now extended beyond its original location, with 2 new restaurants serving neighboring areas. Locals affectionately called it Handage, and the Heart and Hearth name had come to mean more than just a place for meals. It was now synonymous with community, friendship, and second chances. One sunny afternoon, the original Heart and Hearth buzzed with energy. The restaurant was filled with familiar faces and new visitors drawn in by the stories they'd heard about this special place. A group of school children sat at a table near the window, sharing cookies Gracie had decorated with brightly colored sprinkles and icing. Now 10 years old, Gracie took her job as a helper seriously, and her smile and laughter made her a favorite among the regulars. Ethan and Emma worked seamlessly together, a team both in life and business. Emma paused occasionally to chat with customers, her warm demeanor and easy laughter filling the room with comfort. Ethan moved through the restaurant, stopping to shake hands, share a few jokes, and catch up with patrons who had become more like family over time. In the kitchen, Ben worked with the same steady dedication he'd shown from day one. Now officially retired, he visited Heart and Hearth as often as he could, insisting on helping out just to stay busy. Every so often, he'd lean against the counter, watching his daughter and son-in-law manage the place he'd poured his life into, and a look of profound contentment would settle over his face. As the afternoon shifted into evening, Gracie approached her dad with a thoughtful expression. "Dad, I was thinking, could we start a kids' day at Heart and Hearth? You know, where kids like me can help out, maybe make treats or play music?" She looked up at him, her eyes filled with hope. Ethan knelt down, smiling. "That's a wonderful idea, Gracie. You've grown up so much here, and I think other kids would love to be a part of it too." Gracie's face lit up. "Really? Maybe I could teach them how to make cookies." Ethan chuckled, pulling her into a hug. "You're a natural, Gracie, and Heart and Hearth wouldn't be the same without you." Gracie ran off to tell Emma her idea, her excitement infectious. Heart and Hearth had been her home, her school, her playground, and her source of strength. And as she grew, it would remain a place where she could share that joy and security with others. That evening, after the dinner rush, a familiar face entered Heart and Hearth. It was James, the young man who had come to the restaurant on one of the first community nights with his girlfriend, Lila. Now married, they had returned to Heart and Hearth, hand in hand. Emma greeted them warmly, and they spent a few minutes reminiscing about their first night there. "We wanted you to know how much Heart and Hearth has meant to us," James said, his voice sincere. "We had our first date here, and now we're thinking of starting a family. This place, it's part of our story." Emma felt a wave of pride as she listened. Heart and Hearth wasn't just a restaurant. It was a place where memories were made, where lives were intertwined. She exchanged a meaningful look with Ethan, both of them grateful for the lives they'd touched through the restaurant. As the evening wound down and the last of the customers left, Ethan, Emma, Ben, and Gracie gathered in the quiet of the empty dining room. They shared stories, laughter, and reflections on how far they had come. Ben leaned back, gazing at the framed photographs on the walls, the smiles of happy families, friends, and neighbors who had all come through Heart and Hearth's doors. "I never thought this place would mean so much to so many people," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Emma took his hand, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Dad, it's because of you. You built Heart and Hearth, and now it's part of all of us." Ethan nodded, looking at Gracie, who was listening intently. "We all went through tough times, but this place gave us hope. It reminded us that even when things seem impossible, we can find a way forward, together." Gracie reached for her parents' hands, her small fingers gripping tightly. "We'll keep it going, right? Forever?" Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand. "Forever, Gracie. Heart and Hearth is here to stay." The following week, the restaurant hosted its first Kids' Day. Gracie's idea brought to life. Children filled the space with laughter and creativity, decorating cookies, playing games, and experiencing the warmth of heart and hearth. Parents watched, grateful for a place where their children could feel safe, loved, and encouraged. Heart and Hearth's success spread far beyond the walls of the original restaurant. Other neighborhoods welcomed new branches, each location becoming a pillar of community support, a place where anyone in need could find comfort and kindness. Ethan, Emma, and Ben took pride in visiting these new locations, sharing stories, and ensuring each Heart and Hearth carried the same spirit as the original. One evening, as Ethan and Emma stood by the front door, watching the last customers leave, they shared a quiet moment of reflection. The journey had been filled with challenges, but they had built something extraordinary, a legacy that would outlast them and touch countless lives. Ethan placed an arm around Emma's shoulders, his voice soft. "Thank you for believing in me, Emma, for giving me and Gracie a home and a future." Emma smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And thank you, Ethan, for bringing hope back to Heart and Hearth. Together we made it a place where dreams grow." They turned off the lights, leaving the restaurant in peaceful silence, a sanctuary waiting to open its doors again, ready to welcome everyone who needed a place to belong. If you've been inspired by the journey of Heart and Hearth, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Join our community as we share more heartfelt stories of hope, resilience, and the power of second chances. By subscribing, you help us bring you more tales that warm the heart and remind us all of the strength in unity. Don't miss out on our next story. Turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when it's ready. Thank you for watching, and welcome to our family.